Welcome to the Wealth Workshop. Whether it's investing, retirement, or building generational wealth, we're here to simplify it all. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this episode with your host, Terrified of AI.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the After Hour Community Spotlight. This is Terrified of AI with the next installment. I think we're on number 7 at this point, which is exciting. A little bit of background about myself is I bring a decade plus of financial professional experience, mostly in the financial planning, tax strategy, business strategy point of view. What I don't bring too much of is a technical analysis or day trading experience. So, selfishly, in this series, I'm looking to learn more about um, people who are experienced in that area and looking to share uh, what I'm learning from them and their knowledge. Um, So I love to get it in their words, their experiences, to share it directly with you guys. I am excited for today's episode. We have Trynamakeit, who was recently, I believe, spotlighted by Squeeze Kid. Is that right?
Yes,
Wasn't
yes. Uh-huh.
it? Yeah,
Shouted out by
which
a couple different members on AfterHour.
yeah, and Squeeze Kid is it's awesome that he spotlights some of the accounts that he feels like are doing some good work there. I actually
Yeah,
followed you before that. Um,
appreciate that.
I think you have some in the recency of what's been happening with After Hour, where it's grown a lot, which is great, but that comes with growing pains. You were one of the accounts that's still putting out really good TA
Yes,
content
sir.
and things of
And
that
it's been a
nature.
bumpy road. It's been a
It,
bumpy road, you know?
yeah. So I'm excited for today's episode. I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. I am trying to make it. I am from New Jersey, 22 years old, and I've been investing now for basically as long as I've been a part of the After Hour community. 10 months solid. Started 2024, March, if I'm not wrong. And ever since then, I've just became obsessed with the market.
Yeah, it's a great place, I think, especially for newer investors that and traders that are looking to learn. A lot of I know when I was talking to New Fish Big Pond, it was the same kind of thing where it's like you joined After Hour and boom, it's like drinking from
Yeah.
a fire hose where it's just so much information. And if you can sift through it and find the good information, you can really uh, like inject some nitro. I'll use a car example
Yes.
into your learning, and you can hit the ground running. And I think that's happened with a couple accounts, you
Yes.
being one of them. So
Yes.
I'm excited to hear
I
about your
completely agree.
story.
And great thing, New Fish Big Pond. I've seen his account grow since when he first started trading, when he started asking questions, trying to figure out. He had the same hunger that I displayed in the beginning. So, which is why, watching him grow and seeing how far he's gone, it's very much reflective of the effort he puts in the
Yeah,
community.
completely agree. Um, so with that, let's talk a little bit about how you first started. I know you said you started back, I think in March of 24, so coming up on
Yes,
a year.
sir.
But tell me a little bit about what that process was like. Like, how did you get into investing or trading?
Well, of course. Well, that specific month, I was in a job that I wasn't very fond of. I wasn't really happy with what I was doing, and I was always somebody that was spending a lot of time online. A very big Reddit user. I spent a lot of time on Wall Street Bets, which is where I started. I spent most of my very early, I guess, crypto playing around with, like, when you invest a little couple cents in Dogecoin and, Shiba just to play around. That's where I learned that a little bit. And then moving forward, I got into Race to 10 Million, which I did not know was a community that was run by Sir Jack. And the moment when I bumped into the community, I knew that it was a little bit more different than Wall Street Bets. There was more DD, which is very admirable, and it's something that I looked forward to, reflecting and trying to, make my own DD one day, I guess. And I figured out how they were analyzing the market, and I started following footsteps. And eventually, it found my way to After Hour.
Awesome. And what did the specifically around trading? I know you said you started in crypto, but at least recently, when I've been looking at your stuff, it's a lot about NVIDIA and some of the other
Yes,
stuff. So talk to me a little bit about how how you got into the aspect of trading. We'll talk about after hour in a little bit,
of
specifically from a
course.
community standpoint. But I'd love to hear about kind of how your beginning of trading evolved from those quick little Dogecoin, Shiba trades in crypto to where you're at.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So the first trade I ever found, I found a very good DD information on After Hour. I don't remember exactly who was the user because it's very OG members that I don't think some of these members post today. But I saw something about Ooster, OUST, right? It was a lighter company, very small company, and at the time they were trading around $4. And I got a paycheck from work, and I was like, you know what? Let me throw in this whole paycheck into Ooster. Pick up a couple long dated calls and see where they went, right? And by the month, news came out, LiDAR started picking up more heat. People were doing a lot of deals with this company. And quickly the trade went from $5 average, I had like 80 shares about, to $12 to eventually $14 in like around late Mayish. And that's when I was at the peak of my investment.
That's very cool. So you found one specifically from after hour that a great
Yes.
DD and I'm sure you did a little bit of your own, but so that turned into a quick, what is that, three times your money? That's pretty awesome.
It was amazing. From that moment on, I started realizing, hey, like if I can make this much money off my phone, right? And I'm spending this much time at work to make not even like half of what I just made right now. Why am I stressing myself out to work a 9 to 5? So I tried to, dig into books. I tried to dig into research, chart analysis, listening to different podcasts, reading different DDs, different charts. I bumped into different people. Royalty Trades was one of them. He definitely
Oh,
helped
we'll
me out a
talk about
lot.
him for sure. Love him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good kind of segue into what kind of books or resources did you use when you were first learning about trading? Whether it be specific books or specific, I know some people watch a lot of YouTube. So what did your learning journey look like?
When it came to books, I've never been a person that reads. I've never been a person that would sit there and just finish a whole novel in a week or something like that. So reading was very much of a challenge to when it came to the trading part, but it was very important. It was very much needed. I follow this very big influencer on X. His name is Banana. He suggested my first book that I bought, Martin Zweig, Winning on Wall Street. Very, very amazing book. Very great investment information, great different types of strategies that you can utilize that were used in the 1990s and still reflect to this day. After that, I bought Stock Market Logic by Norman G. Fosback. It gave me a great sense of calls, puts, open put option calls, different types of like straddles, and like how you could basically all the different types of fundamentals to call options and put options. And then that followed with The Intelligent Investor because I wanted to get deeper into my investing skills, my long terms, my short terms. And
Mm,
these
that's a
three
great one
books
for sure.
are, yeah, very, very great trio I have right here. And the knowledge has been incomprehensible.
That is, I mean, first off, just hearing you talk and speak about it, there's clearly a passion there, right? And especially, and I agree, I'm not a huge reader, but when I can relate to the fact that when you find something you're passionate about, you just dove in, and I can hear the passion about it in your voice, which is awesome. I have
I
goosebumps right
appreciate
now
that. Yeah.
listening to it, which is whatever. I don't care what people think about me, but it's cool. I love when people get passionate about stuff. Um,
Yes.
so that's awesome. Any other resources outside of books that helped you on your learning
To
journey?
be Yeah, of course. When it comes specifically down to trading, it's not just about how much you can learn from the market, but about yourself because you're gonna learn a lot about within. For example, me, I'm not a very patient person. I never was, but I forced myself to be. Recently, I've picked up the habit of discipline, waiting, and these are things that you learn not even much by reading, but by going through things in life, losing a lot of money, and just picking yourself right back up from where you left off, and not being phased by these emotions that you live through every day.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you learned a lot about yourself along this process as well, which is cool.
Yeah, yeah. Different YouTube channels as well. I Trade Wise, Trading Lab. Those are two YouTube channels I have no problem shouting out because they've taught me a lot and I've learned a lot from them. Beautiful tools, beautiful indicators that I use to this day.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll get a little bit more into your kind of specific trading strategy and your investment strategy as it is today in a little bit, but I do want to take a little bit to talk about the After Hour community because that's why we're here and that's how we're connected. So you already mentioned a little bit, you found it through the race to 10 million, um, but you have a unique perspective compared to the other people that I've interviewed so far, as it seems like you've been here the longest out of anyone that I've talked to. Um, so tell me a little bit about what it was like when you joined, and maybe a little bit about how it's changed since then.
Of course, of course. So from the moment I've joined to now, it's been a lot of changes. The way the After Hour has grown is like, it's like seeing a stock that has just come out on IPO, and you just see it, going up, and you're seeing its success. I've grown with the success because in the first couple months that I've been there, I saw how a lot of traders were a little bit shy, a little bit, everybody was a little bit, newbie in some type of way. We were all learning, and there were a set numbers of traders that were already established and already had a significant amount of money, and they were already making a name for themselves. And I admired that a lot. There weren't as many as there are now, which is a big difference to, then and now. We have a lot more resources, a lot more information, a lot more DD. You have so many different types of strategies, so many different types of traders, swing traders, day traders, etc. And I appreciate the way that the community has grown in that aspect.
Yeah, it's I've been around since end of October, and it has been really, really cool to even in my time watch it grow. But I'm sure it's even cooler for you as the community's grown a lot. Um, and I'm not even one of those kind of groups of people, right? I mean, I have a lot of experience when it comes to financial markets, but none when it comes to really short-term stuff. So, um, I'm like not even putting out what a lot of the people are the most interested in there. But there's even hunger for the stuff, the financial literacy stuff that I put out
Yeah.
there. So I think it's really interesting just to see how the hunger for that has come. Um, but also there's a lot of hunger to get back to what it seems like it was back when I maybe first joined, where tons of more DD focused things. It seemed to get an influx of small cap and, and crypto kind of, for lack of a better term, shit posting and filtering through that. At least very recently has been a little bit hard, at least for me. And I've heard the same from other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. With that aspect, I'm gonna be real. I'm not like we could talk about something recent, like the Trump coin, right? For example, or the Melania coin, right? Like these are two things that, I look into it, and the first thing I see is 89% of supply is in one wallet. And now we got a bunch of people chasing this and shit posting about it. And it takes away from the actual traders that are putting in so much work in their DD and their charts, and putting out good information at no cost at all,
I know.
because
Yep.
we live in a time where people, you have to charge for the work that you do. And some people like me, I don't care. I like learning and I like sharing, because as I learn and share, if what I share is correct, it makes me feel more confident in what I'm learning, and it makes me want to share more.
That's how teaching works. Some of the best ways to learn about a subject that you have a good knowledge base in, but not an expert knowledge base in, is to to teach it and learn more about it as you're teaching. So I definitely have experience with that. So I completely agree. And the reason, honestly, that you're on here today is you were kind of like a light in that darkness in those times where I'm seeing a ton of terrible posts. It's just like about shilling out a coin or only about like tiny meme coin cryptos. And then I see these TA charts that you post about NVIDIA, and I'm like, finally, some good quality stuff. So for anyone listening, I encourage you to go look at his stuff, and I think it's wonderful. Um,
I
but
appreciate that.
so to talk a little bit more about the After Hour community, um, who are some of the accounts that you follow or that you felt like you learned a lot from in your time here?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go a little way back right here with this one. So
No,
I
go for
mentioned
it.
royalty
And I'm going to
before.
tag all of the people that you mentioned, so that one they know that they got
Wonderful.
a shout out, and then other people can find their channels and view their resources as well.
I appreciate that. To start off, I mentioned royalty trades before. He's one of the first people I'm gonna mention in the aspects of like charting, right? And DD and information like that. He was the guy, the same way you see him post his morning analysis today, to this day, is the same way he was doing it 10 months ago. So that type of like consistency is something that I was always behind him. I was always like commenting, like, hey, like, how does this work? Like, hey, like, how did you get to this? Like, he was always giving me an answer. Someone that always gives you an answer and interacts with you and gives you a reason for why you should get into a call or why you should get into a put, it's much more different than somebody telling you, hey, go do your own, research. Because at that moment, when I first started, I didn't know anything. So one thing is being ignorant and not wanting to learn, and another thing is literally having nowhere to like, turn to. Because I'll be honest with you, like it's easy to go online and start doing little simple research, but there's certain things that you kind of have to like reteach yourself a little bit, right?
Completely.
I haven't
Yeah,
been
I
in school
completely
for
agree.
yeah, I haven't been in school for a while. So me picking up this skill and me applying myself to it was definitely like weight, and royalty really made it not heavy,
A big fan of
One
his.
person to mention. Yeah.
Yeah, huge fan. He got a shout on the last episode too. I think for anyone who's not following them, I think they're making a mistake. He puts out
Yeah.
the morning analysis every day, and to me, it's a great way to jump into the day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It gives you a great direction, and there's nothing more better than starting your day with direction.
Yeah, I
So to
completely
continue
agree.
down that list, I also have Based. He's somebody in the community that's been there for a while, very long time. His 2-1-2 strategy, right? It was the first ever like bump that I ever had, like my first encounter that I ever had with candle reading. So seeing his strategy, asking about it, having him posting about it, reading about it, brought me to a whole bunch of different branches of candle reading, SMAs, EMAs, all that good stuff. So it started getting even more juicier for me when I bumped into Based his account.
Awesome. Yeah, I follow him as well. The great stuff there too.
Another great trader that I could mention as well as Apple Bottom Jeans and Never Pull Over. I'm gonna be very honest with you; those two they have that grind to them. I've been in their community for a little bit. I wasn't very. It wasn't much my pot of tea because I'm a more independent trader when it comes to things, and sometimes my ideas they look crazy in the moment, but when they hit, they hit.
Hmm,
So I guess I had to separate myself. But working with them for the moment that I did, I learned a lot about data. I learned a lot about reading flow. I learned a lot about dark pool. I learned a lot about Gamma. I learned about the Greeks. Those people gave me a lot of, good information as well. So Never Pull Over and Apple Bottom Jeans, two great people to follow.
for sure. Both of them are great resources for the community.
Yes, yes, very much so. And I also definitely want to shout out New Fish Big Pond as well. I also want to shout him out specifically for his come up in the community. I've watched him grow to making his own DD and watching other people make money from his DD. So that's a special shout out just, for the growth and shouting out all that he's accomplished in the community.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he stuck with it, right? Because I know there was a period of time where where I think one trade didn't work for someone or something, or one trade didn't work for a lot of people, and then they got mad because they were late to the trade. Um,
Yeah.
I know that he struggled with that for a little bit, but he's not responsible for what other people do. He's fully transparent with everything that he does, um, and I don't have enough good things to say about him. He's great.
Yes, I completely agree.
Awesome.
For now, I think those are a couple traders that I think are very important. Sir Jack, he's gonna get that infinite shout out. You know,
Oh,
he's the creator.
every time, even if people don't say his name, he's number one on the list because he's the one
He's
who,
unspoken.
yeah, it's known. He did it, and then he created an app so other people could do it. So I'm a big
Yes,
fan
sir.
of his permanently.
Yes, sir.
Um, awesome. So, um, how do you think specifically after hour? If you could just name a couple briefly before we get into your trading strategy. How do you think it's changed your trading strategy as you've been a member of the community?
Oof. This is a big one. So basically, I had a problem with fear of missing out. I had a big problem with following the crowd. And after hour, you have a lot of individuals. You know, most at a certain point, most now you have a lot of new people. So you have a lot of more sheepy vibes going on. But most of the time, you have a lot of traders that will give you real direction in the market instead of telling you what, the news, what the headlines are giving you. I'm very big now, thanks to After Hour, of not following the headlines and not, letting, let's say, a bad news about, somebody downgrading a target price for a stock make me feel like my investment is worth nothing now. Because instead, now I see that as a buying opportunity or a doubling down opportunity. After Hour taught me that.
Yeah, so build confidence, and I think after hour is kind of this kind of there's two sides to the coin where your level of participating in FOMOs will increase greatly in the first
Yeah.
month you're on the app. And then after you get burned by one or two where you just feel like you're trading too much, because there is such thing as trading too much.
Yes, sir.
Some people will not acknowledge that, but there is certainly such thing as trading too much. Is that then it goes way downhill? Like you won't be FOMOing into things after you've done it for a little bit, just because there's a learning curve to getting over that feeling. So I think that's a great point that not a lot of people have made before. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm very happy you also mentioned the part about picking up too many trades because it's something that a lot of people don't really point out. Me in the beginning, I would trade 7 different names and hold like 3 different contracts for each name, and then I would lose track, and then I would end the day break even or barely in profit. That's
Hmm.
how you get burned out. And you're correct about that. Because later on, I just double down to, all right, maybe I'll play today, I'll just focus on one stock, and then that's it.
Perfect. Um, one last thing about After Hour, before we jump into your personal trading strategy is what would you say to a new member who's first joining the community, um, how to navigate it just because it's become this beast. So I think giving direction to new members and why the community is so great will be some helpful insight to new people.
Yeah, well, After Hour has immense support system off the bat to offer. So if you're new, you're gonna be automatically given hugs at the door. A lot of people are gonna, invite you in. There's a lot of warm welcomings. It doesn't feel like Reddit anymore. You know what I mean?
For
So
sure.
that's one big thing that I like to mention. And the knowledge that is available is out of this world. It's overwhelming. So definitely take your time and don't feel bad if you lose a lot of money for the first time because it's going to happen a lot of times. And then you're going to end up making a lot of money once you learn from those mistakes, which is what After Hours shows you.
Perfect. Completely agree. And I will say that j- just to reiterate that point that's been made in pretty much all of these interviews is that After Hour feels, at least right now, and it's divulged a little bit back towards that, but I think as the community grows, inevitable that there will be bad apples, but generally speaking, this is like the opposite of what you'd expect to find on the internet, right? It's like
Yeah.
Reddit is like this cesspool, and a lot of people found After Hour from Reddit, but somehow the cesspool people didn't come along. I don't understand it
Yeah.
completely, but it seems to be like everyone's wildly helpful. Everyone wants everyone to succeed, but we all came from the same place, so it's pretty crazy to me.
That's amazing.
Um,
It's the power of networking, honestly. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. I love it. I can't say enough good things about it, which is one of the reasons
Yes,
I
sir.
love doing these episodes and trying to spotlight who I feel are great members of the community. Um, so, want to talk about your trading strategy a little bit, and I think that's what most people will end up tuning into these for is to learn about what people are doing and what they're looking for actively when they're doing their trading. So, if you could describe your trading strategy in your own words and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis when making trades. I'd love to hear it from your perspective.
Course, sorry. So, basically, I've had to basically go through a couple strategies to get to my strategy, but I've finally found a good, description for it. I am a confluence trader, and I like to focus on different types of, confluences on the chart. I don't just focus on an MA cross or just one inverse head and shoulder, and I don't
Real
focus on
quick
just
before
one
you keep
overbought.
going, can you define
Mhm.
confluence for some people who might not know what that is?
Oh, of course, no problem. So confluence, it's basically when you have a lot of different indicators kind of crossing paths. You have a lot of different trading strategies crossing paths, right? For example, you could have the RSI traders lining up with the formation traders, also lining up with the volume traders, all through different types of indicators that line up in the same time. And once you see that lineup, you can see the momentum, and you follow that. You call that a confluence. It's the
Beautiful.
best way I could kind of define
Oh, I
it.
think that's great. I think that it just helps people understand, especially newer people who might not
Of
have heard
course.
that term before.
So basically, to continue on with the strategy is that I focus on different types of things like that for sorts. I would look for an MA cross on higher time frames because I know higher time frames always give the clearer picture. As a trader, you always want the clear picture. So I'm a trader that focuses on high time frames. I focus on formations that develop on those time frames that line up with the crosses of the MAs. So these are different things that add, you know what I mean? I have a little checklist, and once I check all these little things out, then I take a trade. Right? Confluence could be different things. Me specifically, I like to focus on moving averages. I like to focus on candlestick pattern formations, and I like to focus on the RSI divergences. These are three things that I always look for. That when they all line up for a move, I take a trade, whether it be a swing, a day trade, or a scalp.
Beautiful. What moving averages are you looking at?
So I've it's been a beautiful journey with moving averages. At first, I used to focus on short-term moving averages like the 21 and the 9 and the 200. But as of right now, at this moment, my favorite conjunction would be the 5, the 20, the 50, and the 200. And I call these the perfect pair because you have the 5 day sticks very close to price. You have the 20 day that shows you the short term average. The 50 day shows you the midterm, and then you have the long term average. So it's like basically the best of all worlds.
Gotcha. And when you're looking at all of them, what are you looking for them in relation
Main
to each other?
course, of course. So when we're in momentum, basically like the last couple months, or you could say 2 years, we've been in a very strong market. We've been in a very momentous market, and I like to look at the 5 day moving average for that momentum. Whenever the candlesticks are riding on that very short term moving average, it shows me that there's resilience. Bulls are fighting, bears are losing. So that's one confluence that I would look at, right? I'm looking at that moving average, the strength that it has. And normally with that strength, you're gonna see the 20-day moving average most likely above other moving averages, depending on the type of circumstances the stock is in. I look for crosses as well, especially the 20 and the 50. When the 20-day crosses above the 50, that is also another confluence that I add to the equation. And that normally is pushed through with a bullish formation. In an uptrend, that's normally what I would look for. And vice versa. You for a downtrend, if I see the 5-day breaking, that short-term moving average, I'm starting to see weakness. And then I start to look for the 20-day to break below the 50. And then I start to target different types of resistance levels that became support.
Beautiful. So you're looking at those. And then I think you also said you're looking at relative strength indicators
Yes.
as well and patterns. So if you could explain kind of how you're looking at those in a little more detail for the
Of
listeners, I
course.
think that'd be awesome.
Yes. So the best way I could describe, so I'll start off with the RSI divergences. The RSI divergences, the best way I could describe it is, you'll look at, let's say, for example, Apple, right? It's been in a downtrend since the bad news has been given, right? You have a bunch of bad news just piling onto it, and you're seeing a clear downtrend. And one looks at just the chart and they'll be like, oh, let me short, let me find an opportunity to short. But me, being a trader that utilizes the RSI would add that to my chart and it would show me an oversold stock, right? Along with that, normally the line of the RSI isn't always going to mirror what the chart shows. So the RSI line could be inclining while the chart is declining. And that would be like that divergence effect
Hmm.
that comes into play, right? So if the bottom RSI is rising while your price is dropping, it's showing that a bullish RSI divergence is taking place, and it's almost time to find a local bottom. And that's when you look for these pattern formations, right? That's where you bring in the pattern formations. Okay, so I see the RSI divergence. I see the oversold, atmosphere. So now I'm gonna look for bottoming. And how do I look for that? I usually look for inverse head and shoulders, double bottoms, triple bottoms, stuff like that. Different types of formations that you would find at bottoms.
Perfect. So let's talk about those a little bit more. I know you mentioned those. Do you have any other patterns that you feel like, because patterns are easy to find after
Of
the
course,
fact,
yeah.
right? Like there's a massive difference watching someone analyze a chart from the day that has happened rather than someone analyzing one in real time. So
Yes.
so what have you found that you're able to pick up on early when it comes to kind of these charting patterns?
So I found that basically very much I like to predict what pattern is playing out. If I'm working on, I usually work on the 15-minute chart if I'm day trading. If we're talking about a live trade that I'm picking up, it'll be the 15-minute, and then normally we could see the first, let's say a half inverse head and shoulder, right? I would start to pick out that, right? I'll pick out the lowest low, and then I'll pick out the highest low, and then I'll start to try to calculate the next, the right shoulder. And by doing that, look for the MAs, I look for the volume, and I look for all these things that's going on in the market to see if I could get that, that boost, or if I could get that last dip. You know what I mean? And these are different types of, like, for example, I've been doing a lot of futures recently. So these temporary moves, these little, they would play out and they would benefit on my end a lot. I would see a double bottom in play, for example, and then I would make the neckline, and I would see how the chart would react to these lines that I put on the chart. And as I see the reaction, I quickly start to, make a trade. Okay. So I see the momentum, I see the reaction, and then I'll see all these things in my favor. Gives me confidence, and I get in.
Perfect. I I can't even put to words right now how impressive it is to kind of hear you talk about things. Um, and realize that it's been less than a year that you've kind of dove into this. I think that it goes to show the hunger that you have for it and how much someone can learn so quickly because it's a ton of information. I can't even. What it's hard to describe to someone how much you need to know to just retain all this information. So I just wanted to tell you how impressed I am listening to you talk right now.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
but so on top of that, um, it sounds like you're doing a lot of TA as you're going through day trades, as a lot of people are. Um, but from what I found, a lot of people have one or two, maybe three positions, whether it be uh, people doing zero DTEs, they're usually doing it on either SPY or QQQ, at least in the Discord. Um, but each person who's doing these kind of day tradings usually does it on a few stocks. So, what are your favorite? And it seems like you talk about Apple and Nvidia the most, at least recently. So, can you talk to me a little bit about that? Or maybe I'm way off base.
No, no, you're right on the dot. So Apple, Nvidia, I'll also mention Amazon as well, a big one, and SPY. I like to keep it down to those four. And I used to touch Tesla, but after the recent gap ups, I don't like the quick money schemes, and so I stay away.
It's very
But
volatile,
Apple, yeah, you understand me, right?
completely.
So when it comes to Apple and Nvidia and SPY, I very much love how like how do I describe it? These stocks are so like disciplined, you know what I mean? Nvidia, for example, I do technical analysis on it and it's so smooth. I know you guys are probably, if you guys are listening in right now, anybody that follows me, anybody who's seen my charting, you've seen how day by day I could update the chart to you with the same exact markings and lines that I made the previous day. I rarely ever change the designs that I put on my chart because these stocks that I mentioned, Apple as well, SPY as well, sometimes when the VIX is low. But when these charts are in the right conditions, they play in your favor and they make you money easily. And we've been in a bull market, so I haven't been complaining.
Yeah, for sure. I think you'll be in for a treat with VIX next week or tomorrow.
Yes,
So
yes,
we'll see.
I'm already on it.
Already on it. Awesome. So, are you anything else you want to add to that before I hop into the next question?
Honestly, I definitely want to add that people, there's a lot of, for example, I have a Discord. I'm gonna make it public soon, so watch out for that, guys. Also working with a lot of people in that Discord and mentoring a lot of people. And a main thing that I see is that people like to work on whatever's hot. I like to see that people, oh, quantum this, oh, Mara this, oh, this stock is healthcare, whatever, like AI healthcare, like all that is cool, great, but it's like I look at the chart and I feel like I can't analyze that because it's so memey in a way.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
there's definitely, in my opinion, right? In my humble opinion, because I don't do this.
Yes. In
I
my
just
humble
have,
opinion as well.
well, you seem to know what you're talking about a little bit more than I do from a TA perspective. Like I said in the beginning, I don't have a lot of experience with that at all, but just
Yes.
understanding markets to the level that I do, that chart's going to be like the quantum charts, right? They're going to be nearly impossible to chart and analyze. I mean, you could do it, but any kind of news, like if you're not looking at what Jensen said the night before and you're just looking at the chart, you got fucked. Sorry, no other way to
Yeah,
say it, right?
completely
Like
true.
they're
Hmm.
they're a little bit too memey that you can't do strict TA. At least that's reliable in my opinion on some of those things. I think if you're trading those, it needs to be based on where you think the future is going to be, not necessarily based on some TA that you're doing. Um,
Exactly.
maybe some quant data could be helpful around them, but purely charting, I think those are going to be hard. Um,
Hmm.
so I completely agree there. How did
I,
you pick those ones that you've been trading the most? Like what about them caught your eye when you were first trying to identify the ones that you look at the most?
well, I basically follow the volume, and I realize that these stocks have and pertain that daily volume, that massive volume. They're always on the news. There's always something going on. And with all the money that's, these earnings that I've been looking at as well, I read a lot of income statements and balance sheets when I get the time to do so. And it's not disappointing. You know, Amazon has more money than what they show on their stock. The PE is way higher than what they're worth on the market. So it's just little things like that that I look to every day, and it makes me feel confident in trading a stock that I know has a good base. You want to work with a company that has a good base. The same thing as investing. You don't want to trade options on a company that you know is playing around with their investors. You want to trade a company that respects their investors and respects the money that you're going to put into their options.
Beautiful. I think that's great. Um, you did mention something earlier that I wanted to just touch on briefly, and I don't know how much you want to talk about it, so feel free to tell me to move on. But you said you're dabbling in futures a little bit. Tell me a little bit about that.
Of course, of course. So this is a new journey that I've been taking on recently, day two to be exact.
There we go.
I'm doing a Top Step combine. I don't know if it's a funded trading combine that I'm doing, and I'm trying to dabble into making this my lifestyle, making this my everyday, and making it my employment.
Gotcha. I know nothing about that, so you're speaking Spanish to me.
So basically, for anybody that doesn't really understand, there's different companies, these prop firms that are willing to let you trade with their capital. I basically bought an account that was a demo account worth $50,000, and this prop firm is closely monitoring my performance. And if I can manage to hit a profit target of $3,000 with consistent profiting and trading with past 5 days, then they'll give me 50,000 for real to trade with, and then with the money I make from the futures would go into my pocket after that.
Gotcha. So are you is it paper trading while they try to,
Basically, for right now, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And
well,
then this is
and
very closely monitored.
gotcha. Interesting. I'm not familiar with a ton of it, but I know that Never Pullover has been talking about it um, a little bit recently, and I see a
Yeah.
little bit more about it on After Hours. So I think that's interesting. Um, how do you feel about futures from a um,
So it was very much a big transition. I was very scared because I usually trade regular stocks, options, $300 contracts, $400 contracts, hold swings, all things of that nature. Futures, I feel like is a whole different ballgame because we're not working with $200 stocks, $300 stocks. We're working with, for example, right now I'm looking at the E-mini futures with it, which is right now at 6,078, right? These are thousands and thousands of dollars, billions, millions of dollars going into a giant, fund. And to monitor it and keep close eye movement of what's going on with the chart, it's very much a test because you have to everything I've ever learned, I'm applying it fully. Like I'm going full throttle, gas pedal all the way down because that's the only way you could succeed. And this is really the only way you could test out everything you've learned. Like, am I really for this? Was everything I learned worth it? Is my chart analysis is it really good? So as I've been doing it, my performance for so far as I've been applying, the strategies that I've mentioned before, it's been working for me, and it's been good. I've been making and I've been losing, but I've been making more than I've been losing.
that's the goal, right?
And sometimes, yeah, exactly. That's the goal at the end of the day. So I always pertain to that. You have it helps you with risk management that a lot of people don't. You have a certain amount of capital. You don't think about cutting losses. You don't think about things like this because you're not really trained for this type of discipline. It's hard. It's a lot of different things,
Yeah,
but
so
it's worth it.
yeah, it sounds like it's a little, not a little, a lot more complicated um, than kind of your average
Stressful.
day trader. So I would caution people just jumping into it without doing the level of research and preparation that it sounds like you've done. But
Yes.
I'm excited to hear that it seems to be going well. I know it's only day two, but sounds like it's going well for you, so that's exciting.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, like you said, I don't want people to follow me into this blindly on their second month trading, expecting to make a lot of fast money because I know people hear money and they hear that they can make $1,000 in a couple minutes and it's whoa, let me do it. It took me 10 months to get to to this point, and I'm still scared
10
when I'm
months
in a
of,
position.
yeah, let me add 10 months of diligent study. You read 3 books, countless, almost seeming like it's a training regimen you're putting yourself through. Most people aren't doing that.
Yes,
So I think that people need to
exactly.
be careful when they hear how much money you can make in futures, that they're just going to jump in. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
but let's pivot a little bit away from what you're doing to what kind of tools you're using. So, do you have what trading platform do you trade on? When let's get back to this to stocks because I think that's what most people at After Hour dabble in.
Of course, of course. So my trading platform is to make my orders and all that good stuff. I use good old Robinhood. It's been my best friend since I started trading. Platform is easy. You have instant deposits that you can play with if you know how to pay back.
Mhm.
And to chart, TradingView has been my bestest friend. I don't have much subscriptions. All I really have is just a $20 TradingView subscription and a $5 Robinhood Gold subscription, and good to go.
Beautiful. So you found that TradingView has been kind of your bread and butter. It seems like between that and Thinkorswim, those are really the two most popular ones that I've heard of. Um,
Yes, sir.
do you use any other resources when trading, or just those two?
Of course. Well, free resources that I use and I would recommend a lot people use. I always have Yahoo Finance, always up, always running. I have CNBNC in the background playing. I have
Mhm.
the Fear and Greed Index. A lot of people don't believe in the Fear and Greed Index because they think it's just, faltered, fake emotions. But if you really look into the data that goes behind this Fear and Greed Index, you'll see that it's a lot of good information as well.
So how are
The
you
U.S.
using it?
economic calendar is very important to keep up with the Fed.
For sure. Yeah, they speak on Wednesday. So
Yes, sir.
how are you using the Fear and Greed Index?
So recently, I've for the last couple of months, I've been since August, I've been playing the buy the fear, sell the greed, whole strategy that Warren Buffett laid out a very long time ago, and it seems like a myth, but I've been applying it
It's
recently.
definitely in my
Works.
opinion, a great contrarian
Yeah.
indicator. Great contrarian. We joke all the time. I do. So I'm a financial advisor, um, and got a bunch of clients. And we had a client call us um, back in the beginning, like heading towards the bottom in 22, and he goes, "I think I'm going to take a HELOC to invest in the market." We pretty much everyone looked out and we're like, "All right, guys, time to sell out of all of our positions and hold cash for a little bit." Just because when people get that greedy, I think it's a great contrarian um,
Yes, sir.
indicator. So I think these next few months will be. I think the next few months are going to test that
Mm-hmm.
the strength of that
Yep.
because it could be good, but I see a lot of bearish indicators as well, right? It's a
Yes,
really
sir.
mixed
Yes, sir.
market, so I think it'll be interesting to see how that tracks and how well that works. Um,
Yes, sir.
how do you use um, Yahoo Finance? What are you doing there?
Yeah, every morning, I like to get up in the morning before market opens, probably around 8, 7:30 earliest. And I check up on all the news that comes out before this market's opening, checking up all, the pre-market data, seeing what, our president, our government has been up to, different types of governments. Kind of where I keep up with my stuff, my little like,
Gotcha. So
that's my,
so so news and pre-market news.
yeah,
So
exactly. My cup of tea.
perfect. I love it. Anything else any other tools that you use free or paid when you're doing trading?
Well, besides that, honestly, guys, you always got to keep, Investopedia is great because I'm not perfect. I forget different types of like formations, different types of patterns, different types of so many different things, like you mentioned before. So, a quick little research, a little, look it up on Investopedia, and you'll be fine. You'll get all the information you need. So, I definitely recommend that as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I think sometimes people are afraid, not afraid, but I think ego gets in the way a lot where people think they know
Yeah.
something and they're
Yeah.
not going to go double check it because they think they know it. And market doesn't give a shit about people's egos. They're going to check that at the door right away and say thank you. So,
Yes, sir.
um,
Hmm.
so I think that's a big one. That beautiful thing to hear there. That you're always double checking just to make sure that you're right about something. I love to hear that. Um,
Yeah.
so we're coming up on an hour. Um, we're at 50 minutes now. What is the best piece of investment advice that you ever received?
Okay. Let me see here. I know I had written something. Okay, so perfectly. This investment advice that I got, I can't remember exactly who gave it to me, but it's something that sticks with me, and it's something that keeps me going. It's basically the idea of no matter how hard something might be, or no matter how no matter how let's say you get little results from something you put so much effort into, the more you learn, and the more you apply, you're always going to get a result no matter what. There's always going to be a cause and effect, and that very much applies in this market. If I put my 100% into learning and wanting to keep learning, then what I want is I'm going to receive it. It's basically what it is. Don't give up, keep learning.
Perfect. Yeah, I think there's a lot to learn, and the ability for people to stay hungry is going to be the differentiator between those who make money and those who lose money and don't try again. So I think that
Yes, sir.
putting your head down and continuing to grind is key. Um, one of the things that I wanted to ask you um, about your trading strategy is mostly, right? We've been in a full-on bull market. Are you mostly long stocks, or are you also selling short? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Of course, of course. So at this moment, with everything that's going on, I feel really toppy with a lot of different stocks. For example, right now I don't hold any Apple. I used to hold a lot of Apple, sold all of that. Amazon sold all of that. I'm waiting for all of this uncertainty to get out of the way. We have tariffs talk. I don't like when there's so much uncertainty, and I don't like when there's so much Fed talk. So when stuff like this, I like to liquidate. I'd rather be liquid. And at this moment, the only thing I'm going long in, space stuff. I have a couple nuclear shares as well. UEC. I like that nuclear stock is very cheap. I pick up shares
They
every time it dips below
they went
7.
crazy on Thursday and Friday. I don't know when this will
Yeah,
come out. Probably Tuesday. But on Thursday and Friday, I own some nuclear, and that went up 30% in 2 days, which is
wonderful.
it is wonderful. Except I had a covered call. I'm like, I sold a covered call at $45. I'm like, no way, this hits, right? Nope. I
uh,
got in at 30. I'm like, no way, it gets to 45. That would be a 30, be an above 30% move. So I'm putting this out there. If I sell a covered call, that's a buy signal for you guys because the last three I've sold have all hit, and they're way out of the money. So, but no, I love the nuclear plays recently as well. So
yeah. So basically, I feel like it's the best thing to do right now. If our government's going long AI, go along with Powers AI. And when it comes to the S&P and the DJI, just be careful.
yep, I completely agree. Um, so are you selling short in on any positions ever, or are you usually liquidating, looking for an opportunity to go long?
I usually liquidate, but you gotta play both sides. I'm a bull, perma bull, because we live in a great country with a great economy that whenever it goes down, it picks itself back up. But when I have to play bear, I play it greatly. So I'm very much focusing on how I can, you know, go short with this upcoming, uncertainty that's going on here. I just want to ride the momentum. I need that clear indication, like I said. All my MAs need to cross, all my bearish divergences need to start playing out, and then we could, pick up some puts.
Beautiful. Awesome. Sorry, I wanted to get into that. I had that on my list of questions specifically for you, that I accidentally skipped over, so I appreciate that. Um, I know you said what you feel like your best piece of investment advice that you ever received is, but if you were talking to someone, regardless of after hour, or maybe it's a coworker, right, or a friend that you recently met that's asking you about it, what piece of advice do you think you'd give them, outside of the best that you ever received? Any other advice that you'd give to a new trader?
Well, this is a good one. So basically, I'll use a personal experience. My cousin, right? He is somebody that has no type of experience in the market. He doesn't know anything about it, but he's seen my determination, my consistency, my ambition. He's asked me about it, and all I really told him was it's very much a different field. And I told him that it's something that you need to detach money and heart. You need to detach yourself from the money, and you need to literally grow with yourself to be great in this market. So what I suggest always to new people that aren't on After Hour, because I feel like if you're on After Hour, you're really going the extra mile and you really want to get into this. So I'll give you different types of advices. But if you're very, very, very new, I suggest long-term investments. Always dividends, stuff like that.
Perfect. I think that it is refreshing to hear the people who are good at short-term trading um, reinforce that for newer people, long-term investing is important because that's what 90% of the population is going to do, right? Um,
Yeah.
that's what they do in their 401ks. That's what they do in their IRAs. Typically, it's you go long. You'll never find I think it's at this point a 16-year period where the stock market isn't higher than it was 16 years prior.
Yeah.
So if you just buy and hold, you'll end up fine. And then once you have that foundation laid, I think you can start to get into um, either a knowledge foundation or an actual uh, nest egg foundation, either one,
Exactly.
and it's time
Yes.
to get
Yes.
into the more short-term trades. So I can definitely appreciate that. What
Yeah.
advice would you give to someone who's looking to get into short-term trading?
Oh, definitely, honestly, just don't give up. You always have to put your emotions to the side, like I mentioned before, and you have to be consistent, be disciplined. You have to be hungry. You know what I mean? You have to wake up in the morning, think about your goal. That's the thing about it. You can't just start trading short term and not have a goal in mind. A lot of people want short term trading to be short term riches, and that's not how it goes. Short term trading can lead to that, but you got to go through a lot of turmoil before you get to that point. And the question to everybody that's starting off is, are you ready for that turmoil? Are you ready for these sleepless nights when you're holding along a position and bad news dropped the prior night and your position is down 30%? Like, it's all these different things that people don't think of in the moment, but when they're in that situation, now they don't know what to do. So I definitely feel like that part is more important to stabilize before you get into it.
Perfect. Um, Really appreciate that. So we are actually coming up on the hour. Anything that you want to say to the community that we haven't touched on yet? I am going to end it with some rapid fire questions, but before we get to that, um, anything else that you want to say to the community?
Honestly, just the community. If there's anything, I would just keep being yourself. Keep being hungry. Don't follow the crowd. Don't be sheeps. That's all I really want to mention to everybody, because I feel like everybody wants to just follow the shadows of the people that they look up to, and that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to look out for yourself as well.
Perfect. All right. So I end every interview that I do um, with some rapid fire questions. So you haven't seen these. Uh, Nothing groundbreaking. If you've watched the other ones, you'll kind of know what to expect.
Yeah.
But it will give the audience an opportunity to get to know you and maybe what your personality type's like. So, what is your favorite song?
Favorite song. At the moment, I'm not really specific on the song. Not really. I'm just very much on the genres. I like listening to mellow music, melodic music that really sets a calm ambience. I like listening to singers. I'll mention Adele. I like listening to Adele's voice. You ever heard Skyfall
Oh yeah,
007?
oh yeah, it's a
Great,
beautiful
great
song.
trading song. Yeah.
Get you in the zone. I like it. Perfect. Um, so let's say you're watching the TV, right? You're flipping through the channels, trying to. That's not really how it works nowadays, but let's pretend that it does. What movie comes on while you're flipping through the channels and you physically can't change the channel? You gotta watch it to the end.
Oof. Definitely, definitely. Uh, Pursuit of Happiness. That's
Oh,
one
that's a
movie
great.
that, yeah, it's moved me. It's put me in a position where no matter how hard things could get, no matter how empty your pockets could be, you're always something. Whether or not you got it or not, you still got it.
Yeah, yeah. Always the potential. I'm a big fan of that movie.
Yeah.
Um, do you have a favorite quote?
Favorite quote. Oof. Let me think about this one. I had a couple quotes lined up. It's from Charles Darwin. A man who dares to waste 1 hour of time has not discovered the value of life. Every
Heck,
cent, every minute, every second matters. Execute.
beautiful. I love that quote. Big fan of that one. Um,
Yes, sir.
yeah, I actually have a quote like that tatted on my chest. Um,
That's
so
nice, man.
big fan of valuing your time. I think people don't value their time enough. So that one resonates with me for sure. Um, if you could spend the day with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Well, I'd love to spend some time with Eddie Munger, Charles Munger. That was his
Yeah,
name.
yep,
Yeah, very, very great investor because he was paired up with Warren Buffett. So if I could talk to the guy that was paired up with Warren Buffett, I'd be okay. And he took a lot of knowledge with him. Took
oh
a
for
lot of
sure.
good knowledge with him. So that's somebody that I'll spend a good dinner with.
Yeah, and if you listen to the way Warren Buffett talks about him, he gives him a ton of credit. I know Warren Buffett's the face of Berkshire, but um, he gives Munger all the credit that he can.
I
So
really appreciate his work. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's great. Um, all right, so this one is a little bit after hour specific and not financial advice because we don't give financial advice here. Um, but if you could, and I'm not saying that you would, but if you could full port into anything right now, what do you think it would be and why?
Put anything right now. Let me see what I got working.
Basically, what's your highest conviction kind of play that you're looking at right now?
Mm, At this moment, I really, 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 really like AMD. Okay. I know some people might come at me for this one, but I think they're gonna have a great year.
I feel like they can't get beat up anymore, right? They got to turn that advanced money destroyer meme,
I'm gonna
turn
be
that
so real
around.
with you. That weekly chart is literally everything I've ever wanted to see in a chart that's ready for the most propulsive reversal ever seen. You know what I mean? We got a beautiful falling wedge. We have all these divergences pulling up on all these different time frames. And it's the one stock that, like you mentioned, got beat up so hard. Let's give it a chance.
It's almost like it was memed into the ground. It's like it could, even
Yeah.
if it wanted to launch, the market wouldn't let it because it was on, so it couldn't break trend.
Yes,
Partially
sir.
because it's because of the meme. So I agree. I'm a big fan of theirs. I built my own computer. I bought their parts. I know they do so much more than that, but like they're a staple in the community and have been for a long time.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're Nvidia's, there's there's other things than Nvidia. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
This company could get into quantum. This company could get into AI as much as Nvidia's gotten into AI. The possibilities are endless and the price is great.
Yeah,
So if I was to full port, I'd go 2027 leaps all the
there
way.
we go. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Um, again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you hopping on here.
Thank you so much for having me. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who tuned in to this episode of the After Hour Community Spotlight. I really look forward to doing more of these, and I think we have a couple really exciting ones coming up as well. So thanks, everyone.